Welcome back to talknorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com.
You're listening to the Strom Sports Show.
It is good to have you with us today on this Sunday morning. You're listening to the Strom Sports Show. I'm Steven Strom on the talknorth.com podcast network. If you want to advertise for the show, just contact Jim Souhan. It's on our website, talknorth.com. All right, so everyone can breathe a sigh of relief here. The Minnesota Vikings are 1-0, headed into a huge game against the Green Bay Packers, where we saw firsthand the greatness of Aaron Rodgers against the Bears, and he comes back and makes this monstrous comeback after a play where I thought that we may not see Aaron Rodgers for another season. I mean, the way his knee kind of got hit and went to the grass, it looked like it was just kind of an awkward kind of movement with your knee. There's nothing really on if he's going to play or not. I'm recording on a Wednesday, so I do not know obviously we're going to know, this comes out on a Sunday morning, obviously we're going to know if he's playing today or not. My guess is he doesn't play, okay, but the reports are saying he's pushing it, he wants to play in this game for obvious reasons. This is a team that knocked him out last year, so listen, Packers-Vikings, there is no other game for me that gets me going than Vikings-Packers. There's a lot of teams that I like to beat in this league, okay? There's a lot of teams that I do not like. One being the Saints, the other being the Falcons, the other being the Seahawks. But the Green Bay Packers have a special place in my heart, okay? And when you beat the Packers, especially in Lambeau Field, there's just a certain punch to the gut to Packer fans that you just love. Okay. But the Vikings are 1-0. Pretty good opening game. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't think it'd be close. I didn't think it was going to be close, but it ended up being close. It was last possession. I think a lot of people are saying, the Vikings look great. Listen, they only won by 8 points. I mean, this is a game where Jimmy Garoppolo has the ball going down the field. So what does that tell you? They were right in this game. Vikings made a couple of big-time plays on defense. The defense really won them the game, in my opinion. Harrison Smith, by the way, Smith's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He is a Hall of Famer. What he's able to do every time the Vikings are struggling defensively, Mike Zimmer calls this guy's number every single time, and he makes a play. He makes a pick, forced fumble on the goal line, big sack on third down. He really dominated this game. The defensive line also dominates. Sheldon Richardson, hey, I'm 100% wrong about him. I didn't see much from him in the preseason. He was awesome. Everson Griffin, Danielle Hunter, Linval Joseph controlled that line. That's where it starts for this team. They controlled it. I thought Kirk did exactly what I expect Kirk to do. 2 touchdowns, 250. That's it. You don't need him to do any more than that. If you can score 24 points at home, it's going to be a fun season because they're just not going to give up more than 24 at home. Away, we'll see. Chip Scoggins is going to join me in a few minutes here to talk about the Vikings-Packers matchup and kind of recap the 49ers-Vikings game. Listen, Vikings made plays at the end of the day. 49ers made mistakes. Mike Hughes, rookie, comes in, wasn't expected to play much a couple weeks ago. Mackenzie Alexander, hurt. Terrence Newman, retired. Mike Hughes, right into the fire, pick 6. He made some plays defensively that was a little worrisome, but he made the big play, and that was intercepting Jimmy Garoppolo for a touchdown. I don't know if Mackenzie Alexander honestly makes that play, but that's why we drafted Mike Hughes. That's why you drafted That's why. Kid's a playmaker. So, Vikings-Packers. Doesn't get any better than this, man. Chip Scoggins of the Star Tribune joins the program now. He is a sports columnist and the feature writer for the Star Tribune. Chip, how are you today? Thanks for coming on.
Good. Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's get into it here. Big game coming up Sunday, but before we get into that, I want to talk a little about the 49er game. I want you to talk about how impressive the defensive line was on Sunday versus the Niners and how much that helps Zimmer call his kind of defensive game plan if he wants to play aggressive or however he likes to play at that game.
Yeah, it was a impressive debut, to say the least, for Sheldon Richardson. And Mike Zimmer's talked a lot over the years about the importance of the three technique position in his defense and how he's looked for a certain type of pass rusher from that position. That's why they went out and got Sheldon Richardson. They thought he would fit exactly what Mike Zimmer wants, and Mike said even after the game that he hasn't seen that type of Sheldon Richardson performance on tape, and so that's how dominant of a force he was with the pass rush up the middle. And if you're getting that kind of push up the middle, and then you add Everson Griffin and Daniil Hunter on the outside, that's a formidable pass rush, and it allows you to be able to do it with four. You don't have to send as many blitzes if you don't want, and so that plays into Mike Zimmer's hands. He can do creative things with other guys. Anytime any defensive line can just do it by themselves with four guys and collapse the pocket, it makes the defense that much stronger. So if they can continue to play like that, particularly Sheldon Richardson, get that kind of production, this defensive line is going to be a handful.
100% agree. Now, the only critique of the Vikings defense last season was their ability to create turnovers. They ranked near the bottom of the NFL. They forced 4 on Sunday versus San Fran. You know, we talk about great defenses and then championship defenses. Championship defenses, to me, create those turnovers. How important is that going to be for the Vikings this year to be able to create those turnovers?
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, they finished number 1 in the NFL last year in total defense, but they weren't great at forcing turnovers. And Everson Griffin was asked about that this morning in open locker room period, and he credited Sheldon Richardson. He said the fact that he was able to collapse the pocket from up the middle, because that's the quickest way to the quarterback. It forced Garoppolo to get rid of the ball, made him uncomfortable. We saw the pick six to Mike Hughes. They had 3 guys in his face, and he just got rid of it. He just wanted to get the ball out of his hands. And so that's where turnovers come, when you can get pressure and force the quarterback to get rid of the ball quicker than he wants, or force him into bad throws, or maybe get a tip at the line. That's where it comes. And so, yeah, that's kind of the next step for this defense. You know, they can hold teams down in terms of points, but if you can create turnovers and you saw in the case of Mike Hughes, score off those, obviously that's going to make the entire team better.
Now, you just said it. One of those turnovers created was from the rookie Mike Hughes, who got a lot of time with Alexander out and Newman obviously retired. What did you see from Hughes? I saw some good and bad things out there, but how do you think he did?
Yeah, I think obviously we're going to focus on the 2 big plays, the pick six, and then also he had a pass breakup in the end zone on the very next series, and that was a kind of instinctive play. He came off his receiver, he saw the ball, and went and made a play on it. But there's obviously mistakes. Mike Zimmer said the day after on Monday that Hughes had gotten lost a couple times, and so that, I think, probably created some of those busted coverages that we saw. San Francisco, you know, they had a few wide receivers several times had just kind of run wide open. Now, you have to give them credit, too. Kyle Shanahan's a creative game planner and play caller, and so, you know, I'm sure he realized, hey, they're a little thin at the quarterback spot. They got a rookie out there, so let's try some things. And so for a debut, I think not bad, but obviously there's a lot of things that they can clean up and mistakes that he can fix.
Let's go to the other side of the ball here with the offense. You know, the offensive line, in my opinion, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was terrible. What should we look for against the Packers this Sunday to try and create more holes for Cook and Murray?
Yeah, that's the one thing. They didn't run the ball well, and particularly when they got up big in the second half, that's where you'd like to think that they would be able to run the ball, milk the clock, and just kind of take care of it there. But the fact that they really couldn't run it, they had a couple series that were 3 and outs, and they didn't last. The series didn't last very long, and so that gave San Fran an opportunity to get back in it. You know, I thought they were okay at best. Tom Compton kind of had a rough start. They had some good players along their line, and so, and as Mike Zimmer said, some of the things they do make it tough to run the ball against them. But I think I don't know if Pat Elflein will be back this week. They're going to see, you know, what he can do in practice. Mike Zimmer said today, this is Wednesday, that you know, he's made good progress, and they're going to see, you know, where he's at in practice this week before they make a determination. But obviously, getting him back will be a big boost for the line. And then I do think Dalvin Cook was just, you know, I don't know if it's knocking off rust or whatever, but I think you'll see him progressively get better because he really didn't play in the preseason. He got 2 or 3 snaps. So he's going to have to get kind of his game legs back. So I think, we saw some things from him as a receiver, but I think as a runner, as the line improves and gets the elf line back and he gets more of his game legs back, that they'll become more productive in the run game.
Now, there's not many people, players, coaches in the NFL that have the ability to limit Aaron Rodgers, and Mike Zimmer's kind of been able to do that with him over his career. We know he's banged up. We know he may not be able to move as well laterally. What do you think Zimmer's game plan is going to be coming in on Sunday on a less than 100% Aaron Rodgers?
Well, you obviously want to get pressure and force him to move, and if he doesn't have the mobility that we're used to, because that's where Rodgers is probably his most dangerous, is keeping plays alive, and when he takes off, it's not necessarily he's looking to run. It's he's just scrambling to buy time for his wide receivers, and it's hard to cover guys that long. And so you see some of his big plays are when he moves around in the pocket and buys time and then throws the ball downfield. So if he's not able to do that as much with that knee, I would think Zimmer's going to try to bring a lot of pressure, whether that's just letting the front four do it or seeing more Anthony Barr blitz, Harrison Smith. I just think you want to test him early to see kind of what mobility he does have, and is he going to be able to scramble around and keep plays alive? Because if he's not, then I think you're going to see a lot of pressure on him.
Couple more left here. Now, I just read a article on the Players Tribune, Xavier Rhodes ranking his best players in the NFC North, and he talked a little about Cousins and how competitive he is. Okay, and he's going up against the best quarterback in the league. I mean, you can take him or Brady in Aaron Rodgers. What if you're John DeFilippo, what are you telling Cousins? Maybe not to do too much here. I know he's competitive. You know he's going against the best. How do you kind of tell Kirk Cousins to reel it in and just stick to the game plan here?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously very competitive, but I don't think you want to get in that mindset. I got to play as well as Aaron Rodgers. That's not going to work. I mean, not many quarterbacks are going to win that battle. And so I just think for him, it's maybe cliche-ish or what, but just be the best Kirk Cousins. And we saw a pretty good Kirk Cousins in the debut.
Yep.
Some of those throws, he had three in particular, the 2 touchdown passes and the third down one to Morgan, where I don't know you could throw the ball any better than what he did. The guys were covered, the window was really tight, and he dropped it in there. And so if he can do that, I think that's going to be good enough for this offense and not have to worry about who you're facing, because it's not Kirk Cousins against Aaron Rodgers. He just needs to make the same kind of throws that he made Sunday and play. I thought some of those throws were fearless, because you look at it and you're like, boy, I don't know if he's up there. And he's throwing them open and he's taking the chance. And so I thought that was a heck of a debut and pretty impressive the way he took those shots and said, I'm going to make this throw even if it doesn't look like it's open.
I said it in my monologue today. If Kirk Cousins can throw for 250, 2 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, and 24 points at home, the Vikings are going to win a lot of games. They don't need Kirk Cousins to throw for 350 yards like he had to do in Washington. So let's look at Cousins' career versus the Green Bay Packers. He's played them twice. He's thrown for 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I want to get to a question here that Viking fans have to be thinking of. I am, certainly. Packer fans are plenty aware of what the Vikings did to Rodgers last year. Yep. Should the Vikings be worried for Cousins at all in this game when it comes to getting hit?
I would hope not. I mean, it's a physical sport, but I also hope there's a respect factor that, I would be doubtful if that's on anybody's mind. Hey, we got to get retribution. This is not baseball where you hit our guy, we're going to hit your guy. I think, that I just think you would hope that there's enough respect amongst players that there's none of that nonsense going to go on. I mean, we saw it with the Bounty Gate.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah, so I would be stunned if we saw anything like that. The way the game is, and these guys, as much as the rivalry and you hate and all that stuff, there should be at least, there's a mutual respect that you don't cross the line and try to injure anybody like that.
Now, this is coming out on Sunday morning, so we don't know who actually is starting, if it's Aaron Rodgers or Sean Kaiser. Last thing here, I want to get your predictions with Kaiser and with Aaron Rodgers. Go.
With Kaiser, I think the Vikings win big. I just think he would